Welcome to Boost Coding Flow channel. In this tutorial, we will show you how we as master admin can give privilege to users to be an admin by creating a special domain to differentiate the admin role in the regular user's role. Once the special domain has been set up, every admin must be listed on the admin sheet data and signed in with email domain that has been determined by master on the admin sheet to access the admin account. To begin, let's make the headers for the sheet. For this demonstration, the headers consist of first name, last name, phone number, home address, email address, the domain of the email, and the password to sign in the community website. After that, we copy the sheet into 3. Then name all those 3 sheets: user data, admin data, and master data. To reach the Google Script interface, you may open your Google Sheet that you are working on, then click Extensions on the menu bar and choose the app's script menu. Sheet_ID stores the Google Sheets document ID that serves as the application database. This unique identifier links the code to the specific spreadsheet containing all user data. User_sheet_name defines the worksheet name user data for storing regular user accounts. This constant ensures standard user operations target the correct sheet tab. Admin_sheet_name specifies the admin data worksheet name for administrator account storage. It maintains data separation between admin and regular user accounts. Master_sheet_name identifies the master data worksheet for highest level administrator accounts. This completes the 3-tier data structure for user management. The doGet function serves as the entry point for web requests to this Google Apps script application. When a user accesses the published web app URL, this function is automatically triggered to deliver the user interface. It creates and returns an HTML output from the index.html file, which contains all the visual elements and client-side logic that users interact with. This function essentially bridges the server-side Google Apps script environment with the client-facing web interface. The search row function handles user authentication by verifying email and password credentials against stored data. It begins by calling getSheet by email domain to determine which spreadsheet tab to search based on the email's domain. The function then splits the email into username and domain components using the split method with @ as the separator. If the email format is invalid, it immediately returns null. The function iterates through all rows in the selected sheet, starting from the second row to skip headers, comparing the username, domain, and password columns. When a match is found, it returns a user object containing personal information and role. Otherwise, it returns null. The getUserRole function determines a user's access level by analyzing their email domain. It accepts a domain parameter that includes the @ symbol and checks if it matches specific administrative domains. If the domain equals @master.com, the function returns masteradmin indicating full system access. For @admin.com domains, it returns admin for intermediate privileges. Any other domain results in a user role with basic access rights, establishing a 3-tier permission system. The add_row function processes new user registrations by adding their information to the appropriate spreadsheet. It first validates the email format by splitting it into username and domain components, throwing an error if the format is invalid. The function then checks for existing users with the same email in the target sheet by scanning all records. If no duplicate is found, it appends a new row containing the user's first name, last name, phone, address, separated username and domain, and password. This separation of email components allows for more flexible data management and role assignment. The update row function modifies existing user records when users update their profile information. It begins by identifying the correct spreadsheet tab using the Get Sheet by Email domain helper function. The function splits the original email into username and domain to locate the specific user record. It searches through all rows in the sheet to find the matching username and domain combination. When found, it updates the entire row with the new data array using the setValues method, ensuring all user information remains synchronized. The Get Sheet by Email domain function acts as a routing mechanism that directs operations to the appropriate spreadsheet tab based on email domains. It examines the email parameters ending using the ends with method to determine the user's category. Emails ending with @master.com are directed to the master datasheet, while @admin.com domains go to the admin datasheet. All other emails are routed to the user datasheet, maintaining proper data segregation between different user types. The getAllUserData function retrieves all records from the user datasheet for display in administrative interfaces. It opens the specific spreadsheet using the predefined sheet_ID constant and accesses the user datasheet by name. The function then obtains the entire data range of the sheet and returns all values as a two-dimensional array, providing complete user information for management purposes. The getAllAdminData function fetches all administrator records from the admin datasheet for supervisory review. It accesses the spreadsheet using the stored sheet_ID and specifically targets the admin datasheet by calling getDataRange followed by getValues. It captures every cell's content within the used range of the sheet, returning a comprehensive dataset of administrator information. The getAllMasterData function retrieves all records from the master datasheet for comprehensive system oversight by master administrators. It opens the target spreadsheet using the predefined sheet_ID constant and specifically accesses the master datasheet by referencing the master_sheet_name constant. The function then obtains the complete data range of this master sheet and returns all cell values as a two-dimensional array, providing full system user information across all privilege levels for ultimate administrative management purposes. The HTML document begins with standard declaration and root elements that define the web page's basic structure. The head section contains meta information including base target settings and CSS styling for layout and visual presentation. The body encompasses all visible elements including authentication forms, user interfaces, and administrative panels, organized into hidden sections that become visible based on user interactions and privileges. The Logout button element creates a user interface component for ending sessions and returning to the authentication screen. The button element defines a clickable interface element that users can interact with to initiate the logout process. The class attribute contains two CSS classes with Logout button defining visual styling and hidden initially concealing the element from view. The onClick event attribute specifies that when users click this button, the logout JavaScript function will execute to handle session termination and interface reset. The sign-out text label provides clear descriptive text informing users about the button's purpose and intended action. The sign-in section provides email and password input fields with corresponding labels for user identification. Two buttons trigger the sign-in and show sign-up functions, enabling both authentication and navigation to registration. The sign-up section contains comprehensive form fields collecting first name, last name, phone, address, email, and password for new account creation, with buttons for submission and return to sign in. The sign-up function collects all registration form data including personal information and credentials when new users create accounts. It invokes the server-side add row function with the collected values, handling both success and failure scenarios with appropriate user feedback. Successful registration displays a confirmation message and returns the user to the sign-in interface, while failures show detailed error information. The Welcome section displays personalized greetings and contains navigation buttons for settings and administrative functions. The Settings section mirrors the sign-up form fields but pre-populates with current user data for profile modifications. The User Editor and Admin Editor sections present tabular data displays with headers for personal information and role management, providing administrative oversight capabilities. The JavaScript begins by declaring current user email and current user role variables to maintain session state across function calls. These variables store critical authentication information that determines interface visibility and permission levels throughout the user's session, serving as the foundation for role-based access control. The Hide All Sections function manages interface visibility by systematically concealing all main content areas to prevent display conflicts. It accesses each section element through document.getElement by ID calls targeting Welcome section, Settings section, User Editor section, Admin Editor section, and Master Editor section identifiers. The function applies the hidden CSS class to every one of these elements using ClassList.add method, ensuring clean transitions between different application interfaces and maintaining organized screen presentation. The sign-in function handles user authentication by collecting credential information from input fields and verifying them against server records. It retrieves the email value through getElement by ID targeting sign-in email and password value from sign-in password input element. The function calls searchrow via google.script.run with the collected credentials, then processes the server response to either display personalized welcome content for successful authentication or show error messages for failed attempts. Upon successful login, it hides the sign-in interface, reveals the Welcome section, displays the Logout button, sets personalized greeting text, generates role-appropriate navigation, populates settings form, stores user data in variables, and reveals administrative editor buttons based on the user's privilege level. The sign-up function processes new user registrations by gathering comprehensive personal information from all form fields in the registration section. It collects first name from sign-up first name input, last name from sign-up last name input, phone from sign-up phone input, address from sign-up address input, email from sign-up email input, and password from sign-up password input elements. The function invokes add row through google.script.run with all collected user data, handling both successful account creation with confirmation alerts and registration failures with detailed error messages. Upon successful registration completion, it displays a success notification and navigates the user back to the sign-in interface through the Show Sign-In function for immediate authentication with the newly created account. The Display Sidebar function generates role-appropriate navigation menus by examining the user's privilege level. For standard users, it creates links to basic features like news, chat rooms, events, pollings, and settings. Administrative users receive additional editor links for content management and user oversight. Master administrators get comprehensive navigation including system-wide controls and website configuration options. The Open Welcome function manages navigation back to the main dashboard interface from any other section of the application. It begins by executing the Hide All Sections function, which systematically conceals all currently visible content areas to ensure a clean visual transition. The function then accesses the Welcome section element through Document, Get Element by ID to obtain a reference to the main dashboard container. It calls ClassList, remove with the parameter hidden on this element to make the Welcome section visible again, restoring the user to their primary interface after completing other tasks. The Open Settings function manages interface transitions when users access their profile configuration. It hides the main Welcome section to reduce visual clutter and reveal the settings form. This function works with Populate settings to ensure users can view and modify their current information in a dedicated interface separate from other application features. The Save Changes function gathers updated values from all settings form fields when users modify their profile information. It calls the Server-Side Update row function with the new data and the stored current user email for identification. Successful updates trigger confirmation messages and interface navigation back to the Welcome section, ensuring users receive feedback about their changes. The Populate Settings function pre-fills the settings form with existing user data retrieved during authentication. It accesses each form field by ID and assigns corresponding values from the user data object, creating an editing experience that shows current information. This function ensures users can see their existing details before making modifications, reducing potential confusion. The Logout function comprehensively resets the user interface to its initial state when users end their session. It reveals the authentication interface while hiding all application sections including Welcome Message, Sidebar, and Editors. The function additionally clears the settings form fields and resets navigation elements, ensuring a clean slate for subsequent users. The Clear Settings function systematically empties all form fields in the Settings section during logout procedures. It accesses each input element by ID and sets their value properties to empty strings, preventing potential information leakage between user sessions. This security measure ensures that sensitive user data doesn't persist in the browser interface. The Show Sign Up and Show Sign In functions manage visibility transitions between authentication interfaces. Show Sign Up hides the Sign In section and reveals the registration form, while Show Sign In performs the reverse operation. These functions provide smooth navigation between different authentication states without requiring page reloads. The Open User Editor and Open Admin Editor functions handle interface transitions to administrative views while triggering data loading procedures. They hide the main Welcome section and reveal the respective editor interfaces, then call corresponding data retrieval functions to populate the tables with current user or administrator information. The Load Master Data function retrieves comprehensive user information from the server and dynamically constructs table rows for master administrator oversight. It calls Get All Master Data through Google script.run and processes the returned dataset by iterating through each data row while intentionally excluding the header row from display. For every user record encountered, the function constructs a complete email address by combining the username and domain components before generating table cells that contain all personal information columns. The function consistently labels each entry with the master role designation, building a complete administrative overview that provides master administrators with visibility across the entire user database. The Load User Data function retrieves user information from the server and dynamically generates table rows for display. It calls Get All User Data via google.script.run and processes the returned dataset by iterating through each row while skipping the header. For each user record, It creates table cells containing personal information and role classification, building a complete administrative overview. The load admin data function fetches administrator records and constructs a tabular display similar to load user data but tailored for admin information. It accesses the admin editor table body and clears existing content before processing the server response. The function generates table rows with administrator details, automatically appending at admin.com to username fields and labeling all entries as admin. The update email function handles email address modifications through administrative interfaces. It calls the server-side update row function with both old and new email values for identification and updating. Upon successful completion, it displays confirmation messages and refreshes the appropriate data table based on which editor interface is currently active. The getUserRole function determines human-readable role labels based on email domain patterns for display purposes. It checks if the email ends with specific domain patterns and returns corresponding role descriptions. This function works alongside the server-side role determination to provide consistent role information throughout the application interface. Hope this tutorial helps you to create a simple code of Google Script yet powerful to fulfill your web system's need. Please stay tuned for more knowledge about website coding that will be shared on the Boost Coding Flow channel.